All right. Well, good afternoon. I think we can go ahead and get started. We still have some people joining us. Welcome to our June Lunch and Learn. This Lunch and Learn series was launched to explore all the fascinating connections between humans and animals, and also to learn how we can better support and create a more humane world for the animals that we coexist with. I'm Reasa Currier. I'm the director for Fairfax County Animal Services. And so for those of you who are not familiar with us, we operate two open access shelters in Fairfax County, the Michael R. Fry Shelter on West Ox Road, and that's just off 66. And then we also have our Lorton campus, which is in the southern part of the county. But cats is we have a lot of cats. Our community loves cats. And so we are excited to dive into a subject that's often misunderstood, yet is incredibly rewarding. And that is the behavior and the inner world of our feline companions. So cats are one of the most popular pets in the United States. But despite living in our home, sleeping on our pillows, curling up in our laps, their behavior and their needs are really a mystery to many of us. So many people see cats as aloof and independent. And the data shows that cats are much less likely to be going to the veterinarian than their dog companions. But the truth is cats are incredibly intelligent. They're emotional and communicative animals. And so the potential for connection and understanding and even cooperation with our feline friends is greater than many realize. So by learning to understand body language, emotion, and motivation, we can really address some of the behavioral challenges that we see with cats in homes, and those challenges that result in cats being rehomed or being placed outside. So to help us unlock all of this potential, we're joined by a true expert in feline behavior. That is Reasa Stemcosky. She is the owner of PawLitically Correct. She's a certified cat behavior consultant. And so that's the CCBC. She's with the International Association of Animal Behavioral Consultants. She's a fear-free certified trainer. But she has also extensive experience working with cats in shelter environments and working with cats that have had a long road to go. And I have seen her work myself. And seeing the just incredible connection she can foster and the work that she can do to help us live in a more peaceful and happy way with our cats. So welcome, Reasa. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Reasa. It's so good to see you. And it's so good to see how many people are joining us today. It just makes my heart so happy to see how many people want to learn more about their cats and get to know them better and create a happier world for everyone. I'm Reasa. I'm a certified cat behavior consultant, fear-free certified trainer, and shelter behavior affiliate. I have been in animal behavior for about 16 years now. Started out in shelter behavior. That's how I met Reasa. And after 15 years of doing shelter behavior, I decided to go it on my own and just do consulting. Opened up my own business a few years ago, doing it on the side, but now I'm devoting full time to just meeting people and their cats and helping them along the way.
So we're excited, Reasa. I love talking to you. I've learned so much so much from you that I've used in my personal life. So I adopted a cat that is really not friendly towards people. She was a street kitty in DC, and we really struggled with creating a bond with her. And she's very spicy, But one of the things we use, some of the tools you shared about positive reinforcement and treats, and now she can sit, she comes, she does all these things. She's very, very intelligent. And but that has created such an amazing bond. Like, she doesn't like petting, but we have other ways that we can bond with her. And I recently was showing my mother-in-law, I called Ella and put her in sit, and she got a treat. And my mother-in-law said, well, now I've seen everything, and it really reinforced to me. My mother-in-law has had cats her whole life, right? And it reinforced to me how much people don't realize that they are capable of learning, and they are capable of doing so many things. And so let's just dive right into some questions. What are some of the most common behavior issues that families with cats experience that they're contacting you about?
I see a lot of inter-cat conflict,
Yeah.
house soiling, not using the litter box, and
Mhm.
aggression towards people, biting and scratching. Those are probably the most common. When it comes to intercat aggression or intercat, I hate to say aggression, conflict. People bring in new cats, they adopt new
Yeah.
cats, and that's always puts them in a tough spot, integrating them into the household. And then house soiling, eliminating outside the litter box, that's fairly common too. And then, biting and scratching, just trying to figure out what the root cause is, that motivation behind it, and then find out how we can meet those needs that the cat's trying to resolve on their own by doing this such behavior.
So let's start with that, the introduction of cats. And that's always something that we talk to people about when they adopt a cat. And this process can apply even if the cats have been living together for a while, right? Like, you might have to do a reintroduction if one of them's gone to the vet, or one of them's been out, got outside, escaped. That process applies. So can you talk us through a little bit? What are the steps you recommend to manage
Absolutely.
that?
Yeah, so I would say the biggest thing that we can do, and this is for new cats and even, reintroductions, is to increase resources. Cats worry so much about their resources. Their resources are food and water, access to territory, and access to prey and to litter boxes. And when they feel that someone else is coming in, it's like, oh no, there's not going to be enough food for me. Nothing is mine anymore. I don't have any space to go. So increasing those water and food stations throughout, spread them out, increasing territory. Cats think three-dimensionally. Humans are very two-dimensionally. So that's where cat trees and vertical spaces come in. Um, and spreading those out too, as well as litter boxes, spreading those out. It's really important that when we talk about multiples of things, that we're not clustering them in one area, because it's so easy for one cat to control those five litter
Mhm.
boxes that happen to be in one room. Um, Spreading those out. Also, it's kind of a misconception that we feed the animals on each side of the door and make them get closer and closer together. Cats are solitary hunters by nature. They don't go, hey, Fluffy, let's go catch a rat and have lunch together. They would never do that. They spend their day in a natural, normal environment, which would be more outside. Um, that you roam their territory. They're opportunistic hunters. There's a bug, there's a mouse. I'm going to get it and eat it. So they would never bring it back to other cats. So when we put our cats side by side and make them eat next to each other, it can cause some stress. Now, the theory behind it, and it makes sense that we're trying to apply classical conditioning. All good things, yummy stuff comes with each other. But just because it's against their nature, it can create a little bit of stress. So there are ways that you can do exposure, but at a distance, so that it's not um, so right up on them and potentially that just awkward socialness that makes them worry. So spreading out those exposed feeding sessions, use treats, and uh, I'd say the thing that we all miss is that increase in territory. I've seen people with one litter box and multiple cats, or five litter boxes in one room, or one cat tree and all three cats are supposed to share that, that can just create a lot of stress.
That's such an important, just understanding the underlying needs for space and having your own territory. I think it's just so different for people that have had dogs all their life and suddenly they have a cat and just looking at it from their perspective. So if you have a cat and then you bring a new cat in, how do you recommend the transition period, like keeping them in a separate room for a while and doing that scent exchange and associating that way, or what do you suggest?
Yeah, when you bring a new cat home, definitely give them their own space, an extra room or den, something. Make sure that room is enriched with everything they would need, from vertical space and perches to comfy, cozy beds, litter boxes, toys, food, water. And just that first, day or so, it really depends on the cat. Each cat is going to be individual. The last cat I adopted, he was like, let me out of here. I'm going to roam this house and rule it, in no time. But
Mhm.
do give them that time to acclimate to the sounds, the smells, just the rhythm of the home. Cats are get very stressed when there's changes in their environments. They like predictability. So giving them like a day or so to just kind of acclimate and let them take the wheel. If they're out and exploring, then sure, you can start some exposure of the other animals in the home. What's also important too is that when they are feeling comfortable, that you open them up to more and more space. We don't want to keep them confined to the point that they don't know what's out there. And so when
Mm.
they do go out there, they're like, where do I hide? Where do I climb? Where do I use the bathroom?
Okay, so a slow introduction, but you also want to, right? You got to prepare them to live in the bigger house with and integrate with everybody else. Um,
Mhm.
so let's talk about litter box issues. This is something that I know we deal with a lot in shelter environments, and that is really the way cats tell us that something may not be right physically or in their environment. So can you talk about if your cat is eliminating outside of the litter box, like what are kind of your first fact finding things that you look at?
Well, it can be, cats are hardwired to use a litter box. It's nothing mama cat teaches them. It's nothing we teach them. So when they're not doing it, we have to kind of like look at the clues, I guess, that they're giving us to find out what we are missing. Um, Sometimes it can be medical, uh, UTIs to crystals to bladder stones, even constipation can cause house soiling.
Yeah.
Um, and I never really tell someone go to the vet first and then call me, because I don't want to put up any kind of barriers. If I can help your cat, then more immediately than I will, because sometimes it's hard to get into the vet. I don't want to delay things, but I'll often say, and go to your vet. So especially when it's something completely out of the ordinary, your cat is 6 years old and they've never, ever, ever not used a litter box, that might be a sign that it is medical, especially if there's been no changes, no new or different litter box. But I would say for the majority of the litter box cases that I have, a lot of it comes down to the cat is not feeling safe. Cats are also prey animals and they have to feel safe. And what safety looks like for cats and litter boxes is that they eliminating is a vulnerable time for them.
Yeah.
So you want to be able to like see the space, who's coming in, who's exiting. Is that a monster? Perceived threats. We know monsters in our homes, but they perceive that there may be. So you we want to make sure we have a large litter box. I would say the majority of commercial litter boxes are not big enough for cats. If
Yeah.
you hear your cat scratching on the walls, chances are it's too small. Think about how long your cat is when they reach out to dig and they don't have that space. So my favorite litter box in the whole world is a large storage bin.
Mhm.
We cut a big U out the side so the cats can go in and out. So they want space. So they have this large space to feel safe. We place it against the wall that would maybe face the door so they can see who's entering. But also these large storage bins, they're transparent. So they can see shadows and movements out there that they can get a hint that something's entered the room and they can be aware, not surprised. Um, an uncovered litter box, so with the store, leave the top off, the cat can exit any way they can for safety purposes. Humans want privacy, so when we take a litter box, put a lid on it, and then put it in the corner of the bathroom between the vanity and the toilet, your cat could possibly be feeling like, oh my gosh, if something were to come in here, it's going to get me. I have no way to escape. I will not see it until it's too late. So safety is probably the number one issue for cats and litter boxes when not medical.
That's really good to know, and I think you hit it the nail on the head. Is that the litter boxes you can buy on the store for mini cats? I had a really big orange cat, and we had to do the storage, the tote for him, and it was a game changer, especially as he aged. I know with as animals develop arthritis, right, getting over those big.
Yeah.
And now when you see like the iRobot litter boxes, and there's just so much innovation and change in litter box, sometimes going back to the basics and looking at it from their perspective, and the location, is there something loud and scary by it? You put it next to the HVAC system that's clicking on and off, or
Hmm.
changing the litter. Is it adequate lighting, and all of those things are. What litter do you recommend for people?
A simple unscented clumping litter.
Okay.
Um, the pellet type can be painful on their feet.
Okay.
I've had to use pellets because I foster kittens, and I've stepped on those, and it
Oh, they
hurts.
hurt.
Um, yes, the silica type litter can dry out your cat's paws. Silica is intended to dehydrate the urine and feces, and it's going to do the same thing to your cat's paws. So I've seen cats have irritation on their paws, and they don't want to go in there because it's painful. Um, Cats have 14 times more scent receptors than we do. So when we use like a scented litter, you can imagine what they're smelling. If we can smell it, they're smelling it even more intensely. So it's really important for all of us to kind of take ourselves out of the mix when we're thinking about litter box setup being the size, location, and substrate, and really thinking about our cat's needs. If your cat has tolerated it all this time, tolerating is a big difference from liking and enjoying.
Okay. Great. Before we go on, I just want to remind everybody to please go ahead and drop your questions in the Q&A, and we will do our best to answer them as we go through and answer some of these other questions. So we'll keep on this track, Lisa, of challenges, and then we'll move to opportunities. How about that? So the other challenge I know a lot of people have is scratching the furniture. And that's something I know you hear a lot about, furniture scratching. It's sort of an inevitable part of cats, but there are ways to redirect it. And so can you talk a little bit about that? And also the decline, like whether that is something that you think is a humane option.
Okay, so scratching, I think it's really important to realize how important it is to cats. It is so, so important. It's a completely normal and natural behavior. Um, Scratching is not just about grooming claws. They're not doing it just to like get those sheaths off and make them shorter. That's part of it, but it's also very socially important for cats. Where they scratch is important. And what scratching does, it it marks territory. It it marks territory just through like visual. The scratch marks itself, but also with scent. Each time they're scratching, they're depositing scent from the scent glands on their feet. It's also used to stretch out their back muscles and shoulders. So if you have a shorter scratching post and your cat's not using it, but they're using the heck out of your sofa, it's probably because they can get up higher, grab on, and pull down, and it's sturdy. That sofa's not going to fall over on them.
Right.
Um, it's also a displacement behavior. It's a great way for them to, when they're anxious or stressed or really excited, they might start scratching to get that energy out. If you've ever come home, your cat's all excited and they start scratching on something near them, that's why. So um, it's very significant to them. Um, cats, they actually did a study on what cats want in scratchers. They found out that they want something tall, 3 to 4 feet tall, something sturdy because that pulling, it's not going to fall over. They also seem to prefer like a natural rope like sisal. But older cats preferred carpet. Um, so I always tell people, this is completely normal and it's natural. We just have to make sure that they have the right opportunity in the right locations. So instead of putting that scratcher in another room, thinking your cat is just going to go in that other room and scratch, put that scratcher where they're scratching. If it's your sofa, if it's a chair, if it's a carpet, put that scratcher right there. You can make it extra exciting by sprinkling catnip or silver vine on it, but then also reward them when they're using it. And rewarded behavior is going to be repeated. And so they'll keep to it. Playtime is another good time to introduce them to the substrate, to the texture itself, by taking that toy and kind of luring it up, and they, go for the toy and they touch that rope. They're like, oh, this feels good, and start scratching it. Um, so because scratching is so important to cats as a species, and this goes for our house cats, this goes for all the wild cats out there, from little ones to big ones, scratching is so important. Um, we don't want to decline is illegal in many states and jurisdictions. It's definitely spreading across the United States, this legislation, which thrills me to pieces, but it's been illegal for a long time in a lot of parts of the world. And that's because it is taking off a cat's fingers and toes up to that first knuckle, so that first joint. It's not about a humane way of removing claws. You're actually amputating their parts of their body off of them. Decline also creates a lot of other issues that turn into behavior issues. Um, Phantom pain, just like people have phantom pain when they lose a limb, cats can have phantom pain by having all of their toes removed. Um, Declaw surgery is can leave behind fragments of bone. Um, it can also regrowth can happen in there too. So you can imagine what it feels like when you have like a stone in your shoe, just a little pebble. Can you imagine having bone fragments rubbing under your skin all the time? So I think, we've learned so much more about it. I know I have clients with older cats that are declawed. Um, and we know so much more about it, and we know so much more about cats' needs and how to supply them with those needs without doing a declaw surgery.
Well, thank you, Lisa. That's good to know. And I think a lot of challenge that cat owners have that we hear is just how to distinguish between normal behavior and a sign of stress or illness. And cats are so good at masking that. And so, what are some suggestions you have for when how cats display whether they're uncomfortable or stressed, or when we know they need to go to the vet?
Yeah, cats are so good about hiding when they don't feel good or if they're injured. And this cats are cool, unique creatures. and that so much of everything they do and think about and how they respond and react is all just based in instinct, and it's instinct that is hasn't changed for 10,000 years since they started hanging out with humans. Um, but when it's especially out of the ordinary, if you're a cat who never ever hides or doesn't hide very often, maybe just at night when everyone's sleeping, is suddenly hiding. If they're not coming out to eat, drink, or eliminate, this can be stress or it can be pain. If your cat is um, suddenly urinating outside the litter box and you happen to notice that it's tinged with pink, it could be blood. Um, if you're a cat who normally loves to be pet head to tail and raises that butt up to like the elevator butt and loves it, now is hissing or biting or scratching when you're touching them in certain areas, this is likely pain. So when it's especially out of the ordinary for your cat, there's a good chance that there's some kind of pain or discomfort or just feeling icky behind it. But again, what Reesa said about cats not going to the vets, 43% of the cats in the United States don't get to the vet for wellness visits. Um, one reason is that people think, oh, my cat doesn't need to go to the vet. They do need to go to the vet because they hide um, illnesses and pain, but they do need their vaccines. They need hands-on, just palpitation just to make sure they're healthy. Um, the second reason is carrier um,
Mhm.
issues. They don't carrier. Um, and I'm here to tell you all of that can be resolved. You can teach your cat to go into a carrier. Um, there are fear-free vets and cat-friendly practices out there that have certain protocols in place to make sure that your cat is as least stressed as possible when they go. And that way you can get ahead of it. So if there is anything underlying, you can find out before it gets to the point that your cat is actually exhibiting signs of pain and discomfort.
So the carrier thing is so important because I know you've taught classes on that, on how to socialize them with the carrier, and it's actually not that hard. So it doesn't have to be this traumatic episode where you're, folding the cat into a ball and shoving them into the thing, and you're all, you're covered in hair and you're crying and the cat is crying. Like there's like a whole
Right?
other way to do it,
Yes,
and it just
can
takes
be so
time. I mean, that's it.
stressful. It can be so stressful for everyone. And plus we don't want to fracture our bond with our cats, you
Right.
know? Um, so you can desensitize them to carrier. There's a bunch of different ways. In fact, I have a class coming up on it in I think next month, a 3-week class on desensitizing your cat to carrier. But there's a lot of resources on the internet. Just look around and don't wait until you need it. Start now,
Right.
please.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to thank you.
Yes. Yes. Especially your cat. So let's talk about now some of the happier things. So, we all know cats purr when they're happy, but you even talked about scratching. What are some of the other things that cats use, body language and behaviors to show us they're content and they're happy in their environment?
Yeah, so cats use body language and scent for communication. So ways that they might use scent if I'm sure you've come home and your cat, after they've scratched something because they're so excited, they swirl around you. They're depositing their scent on you. They're like, you're home, but you don't smell like me. Here, let me fix this. Bring you into the clan and fix this. Um, so scent is really important. Scent rubbing on you or furniture, items around the house. Is a way that they are communicating that I love this. I love this. Um, but then also things like uh, coming up to you with their tail high and hooked. That is indicate I want to engage right now. If their tail is just kind of like along their line, like or low, they're content. They're just walking along. But when it's high and hooked, they're like, hey, how are you? Let's interact. Um, social rolling. So social rolling they kind of like roll on their shoulder and then on their back and they kind of reach towards you. Anytime there's some kind of a distance decreasing kind of behavior, are they moving closer to you by what they're doing? It's a way of them saying like they're wanting to engage or get closer to you. Head bunting and cheek rubbing too is really flattering.
So let's talk about the flap, where they go on their back and they show their belly. Like I have my floofy cat and it takes all my control not to just stick the hand into that floofy belly. So can you talk about that? Is that an invitation to touch the belly for maybe some cats, all cats? What is
It
that?
is, I know it is not an invitation, but it's quite the high compliment because they're saying that I trust you. Think about all those like important vital organs that they're exposing. If they were to expose those vital organs to something they perceived as a threat, that threat could kill them in one swipe. So they're exposing all of this to you and they're saying, I trust you with my life, essentially. And yes, it can be really, really difficult not to, but we usually learn our lesson, don't we?
Yes,
But
yes.
also, each cat is going to be different. Some cats do like to have their belly rubbed. Know your cat and listen to your cat. When a cat is able to communicate back and forth and have their communication received by you, that bond is only going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. And they're going to trust you more and more and more. But each time they do something and then they give you like a signal like, I didn't like that. When we keep doing it, those signals are going to probably amplify in their intensity to communicate that to you. But yes, those fluffy bellies are death traps
Okay.
for sure.
So tempting though, right?
It is.
So let's talk about cat communication. I live with two teenagers, and they found this video on TikTok of an adult man, human man, calling cats. And it's like a trill, and so they were playing it for my cat, and she came running very happily. And I thought that was so fascinating that she was responding to this, TikTok video of a man. But what are some of the different communication mechanisms that cats use? Like I know trilling and the calls, and that their vocalizations actually mean different things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like a trill is a, a a calling too. Like a mama cat would trill to her kittens to have her kittens come to her. Especially when the kittens get a little bit older and they're starting to explore that area beyond their nest. The mama cat trills and the kittens come running. So trilling, meowing, meowing is something cats do not use amongst themselves. It is solely for humans.
Mm.
It is something that they learned tens of thousands of years ago, and it has been passed down through generations. And it's an I want. So when your cat meows at you, they're saying, I want, dot, dot, dot. And then it's up to us to decipher what they want. But they would never, ever meow at each other. It's just not something in their their language, essentially. Um, yeah, so like trilling is calling too, purring can be comfort. Um, and yowling and howls are usually more of threats, same as hissing. And with all of the like these, the intensity, the louder, the more drawn out they are, is an example of how intense that emotion is. So like a quick hiss or a quick growl is just like a, hey, give me a
Mhm.
break. I'm not comfortable with this. You keep doing it, or that outside force is doing that more, they might growl louder and longer, and then that growl will turn into more of a yowl or a howl. Um, so listen to those first warnings, and we'll all be happier.
Or it's too
Other,
late.
yeah, other things they might do is like when we talk about intensity, if you are petting your cat, and they put their mouth on you, just real gently. That's usually a sign to like, okay, give me a
Back off.
break. Yeah. If you keep doing it, that pressure might get a little bit more. I always think about summer trips to my grandparents with three kids in the back of the car, and my mom looking at us, turn around and looking at us as the first warning, and then touching us on the leg, being like the second warning. And
Mm-hmm.
so the mom looks, um, and so they'll intensify the pressure. And then when the cat learns, like, wow, if I just bite, they'll stop immediately. Why go through all this other stuff? So when we listen to what our cats are requesting of us and responding more immediately, they appreciate us taking their communication and listening to it. It's like a conversation back and forth between them. Um, but there are other little things that cats can do that may be more subtle to let us know that they're uncomfortable with the situation. These can be like displacement behaviors or calming signals. It's kind of like fidgeting for us.
Yes.
We might, tap our fingers when we get a little like agitated. Cats might will do things that are out of context. Typically normal behavior, but it's out of context. You're petting your cat and suddenly they yawn. And it's like you didn't just wake up, you're not tired,
Yeah.
but this yawn
Yeah.
is a way for them to like, okay, they'll stop here in a second. Um, Scratching, they suddenly start scratching an itch. That's another way to uh, become like a displacement behavior, them just kind of fidgeting and like shaking it off. So little signs can be like can help us with that communication again if we respond to them and react to them the way the cat is requesting us to.
So one thing that our behavior team has instituted is consent checks. So you pet one, two, three, and then you start to take a break and look at the animal, so dogs and cats, and what are they doing? Are they coming back into you for more? Or are they trying to disengage? And I think that's so important. Like, we don't go up to
Hmm.
people and suddenly start putting our hands all over them and just keep doing it continuously. It's
Right?
just, especially in their face. And I always marvel at how people engage with animals in ways that is such a violation of their body space. And they often, are put in that situation where they have to react in a way to get someone's attention because they're just not paying any
Definitely.
attention.
And cats by nature appreciate a lower intensity yet higher frequency of petting. And cats prefer to be pet in the head, cheek, neck, shoulder kind of area versus all the way down. And again, each cat is going to be individual. But just in general, especially if you don't know a cat, um, sticking with those areas, but then also petting a little, giving them a break. What do you want? Giving them a little, giving them a break. Look for those displacement behaviors. Is the cat like licking their lips, looking away, leaning away, yawning or scratching? And that's our cue to like, okay, that's enough. And yeah, it's 100% on point with this, you know, cooperative and consent. I think of a client I had who's like, my cat keeps biting me when I pet her. Look, she crawled into my lap. And then I pet her, and look, she just bit me. Well, her husband came and sat it beside her during our session, and I was like, "Are you gonna hug your husband and kiss him?" She's like, "Why would I do that?" And I was like,
Mm,
you know, uh,
wow.
so yeah,
Yeah.
cats want to be close to us, but they don't necessarily want to be touched by us all the time.
And I think that is the hard thing, right? It's just they're so soft and they're small and so cute, and it's just so hard to,
I know, it's
stop
like,
petting them and not just kiss them. And but it is, learning what their limitations are, um, right? So we can have that positive relationship with them.
yeah, it's like that meme of the baby bear. It's like, if not friend, why friend shaped? You
Yes, that's
know?
yeah.
It's the same thing for cats, but um, again, the more we get to know them and our own cats, and we respect their wishes, I find that tolerances go up. So maybe that time
Yeah.
that you do like an extra long pet, um, or really do touch their tummy, those tolerances are up, and your cat knows, okay, this was a one-off. It's not going to happen very often. They'll be more tolerant to that.
So what is the polite way to meet a new cat? Do you let them sniff your hand? Do you bend down and touch noses? What is polite cat introduction?
So when cats meet each other, they rely on scent. And when they identify each other, they rely on scent. So if we just offer our hand to them, about head level, we don't want to be up over their head. We don't want to be too low, but at head level. And remember, cats are farsighted. So if we get too close, they're not going to see that. But, a few inches out, let the cat investigate your scent. Find out who you are, where you've been, what you've been doing. And I always like to let the cat take the wheel. So the cat comes up and maybe head butts or cheek rubs on me. I'll give them a few pets on the cheek and then wait and see what they do.
Okay. And then for cats that are just antisocial, what recommendations? We have volunteers that do amazing work. We deal with hoarding situations now and then, unfortunately, and it's just remarkable how they slowly build the trust. And just one day that cat will just decide, like, I'm going to be a friend and I want to do this. So what do you recommend to how to start with those antisocial cats?
Yeah, so cats, their sociability is very flexible. They can build relations and bonds with some people, but then not with others. Same thing with some animals, but not with others. Um, so I find that if you just kind of like work on their level, their pace, meet them where they are and go at their pace. So things that I do and I work with, from cats in the shelter for fearful behavior to cats in their homes that are really fearful, is we just start with like slow getting accustomed to people. I tell people like go sit in that room, sit on the floor and read your emails, look at social media, read out loud, read that post out loud. Um, so your cat can slowly get used to your voice. They're getting used to your presence and your scent, but let's not be overpowering social. We can't like force ourselves on them. If the cat wants to hide under the sofa, then let them hide under the sofa. You sit outside the sofa and just hang out with them, talk to them. Toss treats under that sofa to them. Um, Instead of handing it to them or putting your hand over them, making them eat from you, tossing it in there. So that way there's no conflicting kind of emotions like, I really want that chocolate brownie, but there's a monster handing it to me. What am I supposed to do? So tossing it to them, um, and then leaving. You don't want to do too much, 15 minutes and then leave, but then also play, interactive play, or just letting the cat watch a toy move is really good ways to like start reducing that stress and wanting them to engage. Um, the most important thing is that you don't force them, you let them go at their pace. Um, and then there's lots of different like exercises and behavior modification. Um, Things that we do for these cats that are really scared, teaching them to do things that are predictable, like targeting, touching their nose to something, is a good way to start interacting with them. They know it's predictable. They know exactly what's going to happen. And they're like, okay, I can do this.
Okay, so let's talk about cats' environment. We know the environment plays such a big part in their behavior and their personality. So if you could design a perfect environment for a cat, what are the essential elements of that?
Yeah, so we have to think about what cats, like species specific behaviors are. Again, cats think 3D, they want to climb. That climbing space is so important for safety and observation for them. Cats like to scratch. That is a Again, it's grooming, it's stretching, it's territory marking. Um, Cats want to hunt. They are the most perfectly designed predator. So we want to make sure that our home is filled with vertical space for cats. And there's so many options out there anymore, everyone. It's not just these giant carpeted cat trees that are going to take up your entire space. Check out a website called House Panther, HAUSPANTHER. They have a section on gear guide, climbing options. So many cool things out there, from quirky and whimsical to mid-century modern to like really neat shelves. Um, so giving your cat this opportunity to climb, um, and scratching substrates. Make sure that there are scratchers if it's part of the climbing perch or freestanding scratchers out there. We want to make sure that there's lots of solo toys, furry mice, crinkly balls, a variety of textures, but also rotating them out so they stay new and novel. You know how it is when you get those from under the sofa and the cat's like, whoa, I haven't seen that in years.
Yeah.
They get all excited. So rotating those out, and then providing them with like daily interactive play with like a lure toy. Feathers on a string on a stick is so important to cats. Hands down, the best toy ever created like that is called Da Bird, DABIRD. Magical. Let your cats hunt. They don't get that opportunity inside unless there's a mouse or a bug that comes in. Um, and a litter box in a very obvious location so they can observe, but then also food and water stations, away from the litter box, ideally separated, and ideally the water's moving. Moving means fresh water, means it's free of or less likely to have pathogens and stuff in it. So
Do you
that would
recommend the
be.
water fountains for cats?
I do. And I did not for a really long time have one for myself, my own cats. And when one of my cats who has passed away, when he started having kidney disease, my vet said it's so important for him to like be like drawn in to drink water. Like don't just rely on him going like, "Ugh, I just really don't want to get up, but I'm thirsty." So using water fountains was a way to like intrigue him more. Um, and then yeah, when you look at what cats are looking for in water sources, um, they're looking for clean water because if they get sick or something like that, then they're going to be at higher risk. So moving water, can indicate that to them. It's the sound, the movement, it just intrigues them.
And it's a play opportunity, yes, for a
Hmm.
little pause in water. Let's see. Well, let's talk a little bit about training. So, you have are notorious for teaching cats to do all sorts of amazing things. So, how do you get started with training your cat?
Yeah, so cats are cognitive creatures. They have
Mhm.
the same brain as we do. They have the same brain essentially as dogs do. They can learn. And learning it's enrichment, that cognitive enrichment for them. Just like us when we learn something. Oh, my cat just walked by and mute. Sorry, I was like, who's that behind me? Um, it's we get tired when we study. Same thing for cats. It's a great way to provide mental enrichment. Um, Sticking with positive reinforcement, that's the only way to go. So we want to think about what you want them to do using treats, and you can get a clicker. You can just click with your tongue. um, you can use the treats to lure them into a position and then click and treat, or to raise it up and let them touch you with their little paw. You can teach them to high five. There's some really good books out there. The one that comes to mind is called The Trainable Cat by Dr. Sarah Ellis, who is one of my heroes. If you want to get started, when I was in shelter behavior, I got the opportunity to join Jackson Galaxy's team Cat Positive. And what we did is we went into shelters across the United States. We were each paired with other shelter, a different shelter, and we taught staff and volunteers to teach cat things from, you know, things that were behavior modification kind of exercises to make them more comfortable and confident, but just to teach them tricks like high five and spin and sit pretty. Um, for cats at a shelter, it's like to be able to do something new is
Mhm.
really exciting. But for me, I think when we use positive reinforcement training for cats in shelter or in home, it really gives the cats the opportunity to make choices and
Mhm.
be in control of something. And a lot of times, especially shelter cats, don't feel like they have that. Um, and it's a way that they can like engage in a way that they're deciding to, and they're being reinforced and rewarded for it. Um, as well as providing that mental enrichment. So, and plus it's a heck of a lot of fun if you like, look at what my cat can do, and they do a high
Right.
five.
It's an
And you can teach
amazing
them
party trick.
anything. Like one of my cats, he would turn his head like this when he was just like curious about something. I'm like, that is so cute. I want to put that on cue. So I just started clicking and treating every time he did that, and now I just say tilt your head, and he's like, so yeah, it's fun for us, it's fun for them, and it's really, really easy to do. Like I said, that book, The Trainable Cat, and plus there is a YouTube channel called Cat School that is like 3 to 5 minute videos of teaching your cat how to do something. So,
That's great. And it's
and
so
it's
great.
great for the bond too.
Oh, it's so wonderful. And for your children to be involved in it. And I think once working with you and seeing what you can do, it almost was a grieving process for me to realize that I've lived with cats my whole life and all that untapped mental ability and it just was wasted, right? I mean, they've always just existed and we pet them and we love them, but really challenging them so that they can grow mentally,
Hmm.
and that they are challenged and to see how a cat can flourish with that. So let's talk a little bit about, what services you provide and through your organization and if folks need help with their cat or just want to enhance their relationship, what do you offer, Lisa?
Yeah, thanks. I do in-home and remote behavior consultation. So people just reach out to me. They can schedule a consultation on my website. And I go into homes and we look at the environment. We talk about what the challenges are, what are their goals, and then we make behavior plans from that. Sometimes it's just a matter of changing up that environment. And sometimes it is doing some training with them, teaching a cat to do what you want versus not what you don't want them to do. Um, and, sometimes we can resolve something in one visit. Sometimes it does take more, especially if we're doing behavior modification. It takes time. And when I talk about behavior modification, what we're doing is we're literally changing behavior. So instead of doing this, we're teaching them to do that. Um, and for everyone attending today, too, I just want to offer 15% off of an initial consultation. So if you go to my website, PawLiticallyCorrect.com, and you enter the code, let me make sure get it right. The code is all capital letters, FFX 15. You'll get a 15% discount, be it an in-home consultation or remote consultation. Um, so yeah, and it's like I have people call me when they have problems, but I also have people who they just adopted kittens and they want to make sure that they set them up for success. I have one lady now that I'm working with who has 4-month-old rag dolls that she just wants to make sure that she gives them the best life possible. And so it's environmental, but it's also doing tricks and cognitive things. And she's just learning more about what their needs so she can address them as they come. So
Great,
yeah.
great. So it's the whole spectrum. And Well, thank you, Lisa, for joining us and sharing your knowledge with us. I know we just scratched the surface here with cats and all of the things related to cats, but I think this was just a good beginning of a conversation and hopefully opening some eyes to the potential mentally and emotionally and physically of the exciting inner world of cats.
Yes. Thank you so much. I'm just so excited to be asked and to, again, to see how many people joined us and wanted to just get to know their little mini panthers in their home. So I appreciate that.
I love that. I'm definitely going to check out the House Panther
Oh,
website. We because our cat is black, so we always call her our House Panther. So
but this website, it is for cats and cat people, so you will find cool things for yourself as well as cool things
nice.
for your cats.
Great. Well, I love our cat people are just so passionate about cats. And so I'm sure they're super jazzed. I know a lot of people are also going to catch the recording because they weren't able to make it from vacations and other things. So thank you, Lisa.
Fantastic.
I hope you have a great rest of your day. And thank you everyone for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks. And thank you, everyone.